Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm joined by show regular Ross. How are you, Ross?
I'm good, Stephen. How's yourself, mate?
Very good, very good. And we're also joined by a special guest, a returning guest, Andrew Durning of that Mental Ginger Show. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me back on. I was pretty sure that I'd screwed up my chances the last time I came over. It sounded like I was on some call center in the Middle East. But I went out and invested in some good tech, good laptop, to make sure we didn't have any more problems this time. Delighted to be back. I feel bad though. It's a Celtic podcast and it's a bright orange background. So yeah, sorry guys.
Don't worry, we'll definitely roll with the punches in that one, Andrew. We're just delighted to have you back. Fantastic guest first time around, so we're looking forward to this one. But we'll get stuck right into the Celtic Football Club, and as the guest, Andrew, we'll come to yourself first. And me and Francis did a podcast basically recapping the Hibs match and the debuts of Hatate, Maeda, that type of thing. How did you feel about them, and how did you feel about that game overall?
Well, it was definitely an improvement from the cup final where we went 1-0 down and then we had to do a gone in 60 seconds to get it back. But I thought first half we went out all guns blazing, and then Hibs has a wee chance, thinking, oh no, that's good make or break it. But luckily all fears were put to bed. Some great debuts. Obviously might take them a wee. It felt to me like they'll still probably need to hit their potential, which is brilliant because they were on fire. The second half was really just controlling the game, making sure that we kind of saw it out. Juranovic steps up. He's just Mr. Penalty Taker now, isn't he? I think he's just the guy that we need for the penalties. He was just so cool and calm and collected all the seas, and he did brilliantly. It was one of those ones that it felt like we hadn't stopped. I know we'd had the early winter break and stuff, and sometimes that can knock a bit of momentum and things like that. But it just felt like it was like, okay, business as usual. And it's always good to have the cover, especially if Kyogo injured or Iota still getting back as well. Everybody was kind of slating Welsh, but I didn't think it was justified. I think he played better than he did in the cup final. No, not Welsh. Erta Andy. Fucking hell, man. I've already ruined it. Sorry, guys. It was good to be back on the show. See you later. It's Starfelt.
Starfelt.
Wishing Welsh in.
This is the way it's going for me today. It's like Bosfelt. Oh, man.
Carry on, as you were.
Yeah, well, Starfelt done brilliantly. I felt it was definitely better than the cup final. Everybody's going on about not as he done. We've got to give the guy a chance. It's only half a season. The team's in a full rebuild. We just got to roll with the punches this one, and I think we're already exceeding expectations. If you told us this is where we'd be at in the summer, no one would have believed it.
No, I totally agree. And many of the Japanese football experts, like Dan Orlowitz, said it takes like 6 months to a year for Postecoglou's style to come into play and the team get used to it. But before we move on from yourself, Andrew, I think you have to explain that background because it's quite striking. So I'll give your moment in the sunshine to plug your podcast.
Well, I think the next time I come on, if I do get another time coming back, I'll change it to green for you, so we don't get any complaints in the comment sections, It's that Mental Ginger show. Just basically, this is their own seal of titles. I'm ginger, I've got mental health issues, and we just break it down and we talk about stuff like that with my guests. I get guys that have been in the industry, like guys from Paisley to the Philippines. So it's quite crazy how much it's taken off in a few months. And yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, feel free. Quite literally, all the details are behind me of how you can find it. So but just look for my crazy gingerness and you can't miss. But I appreciate you letting me making the plug, guys. Thank you very much.
Didn't really have a choice around. No, but honestly, people check it out. It's a brilliant show. It talks about mental health, music, art, acting. So get on it. It's really therapeutic at times as well with the guests you have on. But come to yourself, Ross. Hatate and Maeda. What was said about them? I know it's a couple of days after the Hibs game now, and I've seen people going, you think Hatate was the second coming, but in that midfield, he was absolutely, as Andrew rightly said, they're not at their full potential, but he was on fire. Maeda's so quick that keepers can't even think when he's around. He took his goal well, and Juranovic took his penalty kick well. But the debut guys, what was your impression overall of them?
Um, well, when we were last on together, I think it was last Thursday, we were talking about who we were most excited about, and I had said that I was most excited about Maeda, which I think was justified beforehand. And I think, not to say that Maeda played bad, because he didn't at all. He had a very good game. But Hatate was just, he was, you don't want to get too carried away, but he did really have an outstanding match. He had about a 9 out of 10. He was spraying balls about, picking out like difficult passes, but seeing them early. And he just pulled the strings in the middle of the park. And he pulled the strings in the middle of the park in a midfield that contained Callum McGregor, who has been outstanding for Celtic for a number of years. And he stood out. I know McGregor didn't have one of his better games, but Hatate stood out above him in that game. And I'm not saying he's a better player than McGregor by any stretch, but in that game, as debuts go, you can't ask for much more other than possibly a debut goal, which you would probably want more for your striker, which we got. But he came close, and I mean, that touch on the chest and volley was, it deserved it to go in. Keep it. It was a really good strike. You would expect the keeper to save it, but he had it clean and true, and the touch, he just oozed class throughout the whole time he was on the park, and he fully deserved his man of the match award.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, what I noticed when me and Francis were talking about it, Hatate, obviously, from people from Japan said he's the guy who could earn Celtic millions of pounds further down the line if he cracks on his potential, Andrew. And one thing that straight away stood out to me, as Ross said, he stood out, I wouldn't say head and shoulders, but he was the best out of the midfield three in terms of Rodgers and McGregor. Obviously, by any stretch, like Ross, I'm not saying he's comparable at the minute anyway. But Hatate, for me, did what we've been lacking. He played penetrative balls through the middle. He sprayed it out wide, 1-2 touch football. He could have got his goal, as Ross said. He hit it well, but obviously you expect the keeper to save them types of shots. But are you excited over what you've seen so far, especially of Hatate?
Yeah, really excited. What you said, it's kind of the thing we've been missing, that we kind of spark in midfield, which you feel is an insult to say when you've got, Cal McGregor and the Aussie sensation that is Tom Rogic. But I think, I think Tate's trying to fill in the role that they were hoping maybe David Turnbull could do, and maybe it just hasn't worked out for him at the minute. But maybe it's just a confidence thing, or maybe he just needs Hatate there to up his game to vie for his place. But the midfield options are looking so much better now, especially when Hatate's came in. And we just got to see how he's going to keep playing it, and obviously how injuries will go. But I'm really excited about the squad now. They all look hungry. They look like they want to kick on. They look like they want to play for the manager, which, as we all know, was severely lacking last season. So,
yep.
And again, we've made so much progress in this space of time that you wouldn't have thought at the end of the disaster that was that year. So I'm cautiously excited, and if they're only just warming up, I can't wait to see what happens when they're on fire.
When they're on full tilt. But you brought up an interesting point. Hatate is doing what Turnbull maybe couldn't do, Ross. And what I noticed about Hatate as well, his work rate for me is far superior than what Turnbull would offer. Maybe Turnbull offers the same kind of goal forward in terms of passing, the types of goals he would score, that type of thing. But do you think maybe Turnbull would be a sub now if Hatate stayed the way he is?
I think it's, if he continues to play like he played the other night, I think there's no doubt about it that it would be very difficult for Turnbull to get back into the team, and it's sort of worked out a bit unlucky for him that he is injured currently. It makes the decision to put Hatate into the team easier for Postecoglou, but that said, I think that Postecoglou knows what Hatate's all about. He probably knew what he brought to the table the other night was what he was going to bring to the table, and he probably would have put him into the team anyway, because again, like, it's harsh on Turnbull because I think he's been really good, but he wasn't a Postecoglou signing. Postecoglou's been playing him. I'm loath to say out of necessity because it is out of necessity in a sense, but David Turnbull has got great qualities and he's a very, very good player. And like Andrew alluded to, currently now with guys like Hatate and like Turnbull, we have got excellent options in the middle of the park. And if we bring in this, who we'll touch on probably a bit later, this Matt O'Reilly, you're looking at probably two players, at least two players for each of the three positions in the middle of the park now, which is and good players. Ken, you're probably losing quality slightly, but if you're maybe wanting, for talking sake, I don't know, maybe give Rogic a rest and you bring in like a Beaton or something like that, then you're obviously losing a bit, but you can still like get away with that against teams like Ross County. You're still going to have enough, and you're giving guys like Rogic a bit of a break for to be more effective in the bigger games and conserve more energy for the games. So, as I say, we've got great options, and we're starting to get great options all over the park. And I've just got to take my hat off to Michael Nicholson and Postecoglou, the way they're working in tandem and getting these signings in, and not only getting them in, but getting them in quietly, doing their business like a big club. Postecoglou the other day saying, like any route, you'll hear 20 players tomorrow. It's all rubbish. But he didn't say that was for the rest of the window. I thought he was quite cute. He said tomorrow. He didn't say the rest of the window. So although it looked like he was saying we won't make any more signings this window, he didn't really, if you read between the lines.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he's led a few people down the garden path with that comment, especially like some mainstream media. They kind of bought that straight away, and you've seen the rumours die down pretty quickly. And this Matt O'Reilly from MK Dons has just sprung up out of nowhere in the last 48 hours. It seems to be a done deal as we're on the podcast now. But Andrew, you do look at the midfield, and one concern that I kind of have is it looks a bit bloated because you've got obviously McCarthy lurking there, Sorrow, Beaton. Beaton will probably be reduced again to a squad player type role instead of being a first choice in the centre defensive mid. Do you not think it's time that we look to offload a few players? I don't know who's going to take them, but McCarthy's probably on a big wage, so it'll be hard to get him away. Sorrow's been linked with New York Red Bulls. There has to be some movement outgoing, doesn't there?
Well, I would normally say yes, but in traditional Celtic stance, we normally have like too many midfielders.
Yeah.
I remember during the 9-0 run, at some point I was like, where are the defenders? There was like there was like 14 midfielders and maybe 2 fit defenders. I was like, how are they getting away with this? It was crazy. It just seemed to be a thing. It was like a buy one midfielder, get another 2 for half price. It was unreal. The McCarthy thing is always it never sat well with me. I just thought something that this is just it's a name to like tie in with that they were bringing Joe Hart up, and it felt like it was just like, you know, he was the wee, you know, you're playing like one of the claw machines, and you can win a prize, but there's something stuck to the bottom of it. That was like McCarthy on Joe Hart. It was just like, oh, I'm in the same car. I'm going this way anyway, might as well. Sorrow. I do feel bad for him because he was kind of a best of the bad bunch last season. And
he was.
We were hoping that he would kick on. This hasn't worked out for him, but maybe if this link with New York is true, like he can go over, like he can maybe get a wee bit of confidence back. Who knows? Beaton, he's in with the woodwork. There's no way we're gonna shift him. Like he'll play anywhere. It's like, just please don't put him back in defence. Just rotate him and Rogic, and I think we'll have a good rhythm there. And just get one playing the first half, one playing the second. It's like for like, except one's a little bit taller.
Well,
That's
I do get what you're saying. Beaton has good feet as well for a tall man. But do you know what I mean, Ross? When I'm saying the fact that the midfield area, I mean, I think Postecoglou confirmed that there's 35, or Vujanovic 35 first team players in the squad now. So there does need to be a bit of trimming done. And I think Andrew's right. A history throughout, I've supported Celtic. Midfield has always been stockpiled, but there needs to be a point where you're going. You've got McCarthy, Republic of Ireland international floating about. Sorrow play for the Ivory Coast. Beaton, Israel captain. These guys have big wages, so there has to be a way. Not I know this is a phrase that some Celtic fans are like, why are you saying that for? But the balance the books type thing. Do you know what I
mean? I totally get where you're coming from, and like if possible, if we could get some off the wage bill, then by all means do it. But it's not just like we want to get rid of him, so he just goes. Do you know what I mean? Somebody needs to come in and want to buy the player, and we might not do it in this window. It's not like we desperately need to get them off the wage bill, like financial wise. It's more like because the squad's a bit bloated, but you've got to take into account as well the times we're in, and if we get hit with like COVID and we have to continue to play games, then guys like Sorrow might become invaluable. So if I've got my football cap on, I'm thinking get rid of some of these guys. But then if I've got the times we're living in cap in, I'm like maybe just hang off, just go with what we've got. You can get to the summer, and then you can maybe start to offload these guys once we get a better picture further on of how we're coming out of this pandemic, which it looks to be now, touch wood, that we are coming out it. But again, I'll say it, maybe just keep a hold of these guys like Sorrow and Barkas, etc., until the summer, and then maybe you could probably get them offloaded again. There's got to be probably a Greek team would take a punt on Barkas. It'd be a Swiss team takes a punt on a Yeti. Probably the New York, whatever they are, in the MLS. I can't even. Is it New York? What? I can't mind.
Red Bulls.
It's no Red Bulls, is it?
It is.
Is it
not Red Bulls?
Isn't Red Bulls a basketball team?
Aye.
It's New York Red Bulls, lads.
You're off. It's no Red Bulls.
Go away.
Anyway,
right.
You get what I'm saying.
The comment section's going to be fun.
Kenny. But aye, you get what I'm saying. These guys could go. There'll be teams in their native countries will probably take a punt on them. I mean, Yeti done well in Switzerland before he was snapped up with West Ham, and then his career is just like I don't think stalled is a good enough word for it. But again, he could go back to his homeland and do the business again and rebuild his career. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it at Celtic. So that's just one of the things.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. And the way I look at it as well, obviously a big squad, when you look at it, it can be kind of beneficial in one way, Andrew, but negative in the other way of players in the camp who come unhappy and not playing football, that type of thing. And then you're looking at you get them clicks and all that kind of politics comes into play. But from what I can see, Andrew, is Postecoglou's definitely putting his stamp on that team, regardless of how many players are in that squad. It just seems like he just wants to keep pressing that red button to buy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels a bit like you're watching Deal or No Deal sometimes when it comes to the way Postecoglou's working it. For those that didn't know, that was a game show on Channel 4 back in the day. I'm that old.
No,
yeah. Oh man, never had any of him since either. But
thank God.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's sticking to his guns and going. Look, we need these guys because Ross, I'd never even considered what you'd said. Like, you got to get the COVID cap on sometimes and think, right, the times we're living in now, we could lose all those midfielders and we could be down to bare bones. So I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking, we're finally getting out here, but this COVID is like herpes. It just keeps coming back. It's unreal. But I think one of the things that Postecoglou's got, which will maybe stop a bit of that kind of the Chelsea-esque player revolts and clicks, is that he's got a good man management about him. I think he's a guy that can give the people the arm around the shoulder that need it and the boot up the backside for the ones that need it as well. And and I've noticed there's not a lot of like unrest in the squad. There's not a lot of what potential leaks. And the way he's handled the Griffith situation after all that had happened, I think that was like that was like the acid test of can he manage these type of players in these type of situations. And they've done it brilliantly. It was like, right, we gave you the contract, right, you've screwed it, out you go. Now we don't want you back.
Yeah.
So he's got. And that's what we need. We need someone that is going to toe that line. A bit of the old school kind of, as I said before, the Jock Stein-esque kind of way about him.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think he's hardline, isn't he? I would describe him. He looks like the type of guy, if you get in trouble, you would try and hide from. That's what it looks like to me. Like, no, you be hiding in the corridors now.
He's more the type of guy that if I got in trouble with him, I'd move to another country. If he was in Scotland, I would move to Australia. And I'd probably still hear him rollicking me. But that's the type of guy that sometimes that's the type of guy you need. You need someone that's gonna tell you when you're being a D word and when you're no being a D word. And good on him for it, because a lot of people were like, I don't know, we've not really heard much of the guy, and I was the same. And boy, I've never been so glad been proved wrong in my entire life.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, one thing Postecoglou and Celtic delivered us was a happy Monday against Hibs. And comfy 2-0, as Francis would say. You fast forward, Ross, 24 hours later, Celtic had a crazy Tuesday. Scott Brown and company did us a favour, which I didn't think would actually happen. To be fair, I watched the game, not going to lie, I did watch the game. A lot of people be like, why are you watching that kind of game? You do watch sometimes.
I watched it.
Yeah.
Know your enemy. Know your enemy.
Yes.
Right.
I think, Ross, what Celtic done, we asked the question, and I think for once, maybe in, as you said, 18 months, Rangers have kind of ducked a wee bit and missed.
Aye, well, I mean, you stole my catchphrase, so you're 100% right. But aye, they did. It's the turn of the year. It's over the hump, if you like, and it's now the run-in. And the first game in the run-in, Celtic have had the chance to ask the question, like you say. They asked the question, and Rangers failed to answer. And I think, like you, I did watch the game, and I noticed that obviously we knew Aribo wasn't going to be in the team. They didn't have any Balogun, Hollander, Davis, Roof. They had a lot of guys out injured. Celtic have been through that spell and are coming out the other side of it. And they only dropped probably 2 points in the spell where they were ravaged with injuries. Mm-hmm. That was Rangers' first test with like a lot of guys out, and they came up short. So they've already dropped the 2 points that Celtic dropped in that period. Obviously, Celtic are still 4 points behind them, but the other points that were dropped, that you could say were in a time where Postecoglou had just come in, we were finding our feet. But since then, I don't think you can really knock what they've done. And now that they've, like we've said before, they've added more bodies into the squad, and by the looks of it, quality. So for me, there's not a lot between the teams, there isn't. And I just think at the moment that there's that momentum thing, and at the moment it's in Celtic's favour with the signings, and then that just what happened during the week there. But it could quite easily change again, and I'm cautious but excited, like Andrew said, and just it's one game at a time. The next game is Alloa, but the league game, obviously we go to Tynecastle. I can't mind who Rangers play. They're at home to, I think it might be Ross County, but I could be wrong. Yeah, so that Hearts game, I mean, it was a big game anyway, but it's just really, really huge in the context of us keeping this, because we need to be. Well, don't need to. I want to be at least 4 points behind them going into the Glasgow derby. So we have to win at Tynecastle. And you've said it yourself, Stephen. Draws are no good enough. I know that it's only 4 points, but if we want to rein them in, then we have to keep winning and wait for them to drop. Well, they've dropped points. So if we beat them, if we beat them, I know it's a big if, because it's but no matter how you look at it, it's got to be a difficult game. But we have to beat them at some point, and I just feel that right now we're in a great moment, a really good place with the squad, and I think going into that Glasgow derby, all going well at Tynecastle, I think we have to be strong favourites.
Yep. I totally agree. I think you're right in what you said about momentum. It's swung in Celtic's favour. You can see that. And I think Ross makes a great point, Andrew, in terms of, as you said as well, you'd be cautious but excited. Rangers have faltered in the first time they've been asked a question. They faltered. They've dropped 2 points. We're back to 4 points as it was before Celtic dropped their points as well. So we're back into it again. We can't afford to drop literally any more games. We can't draw. We can't lose. We need to keep this winning run going. How did you feel about the game? I thought Aberdeen could have actually won it, but they got the draw. We're only 4 points behind. It's time to take advantage of that, isn't it?
Well, do I look happy? And I can say that because I'm an Aston Villa fan as well. I miss Scott Brown just on that game alone. I seen the Twitter between him and Mikael Lustig, and I was just like, it was like the glory days returning. Just like Brown putting up, we should have got the 3 points, and Mikael just saying, it's like you're the only sheep I like. And I was like, oh man, I miss these guys so much. I really do. Brown he's like, no matter what team he plays for, he's just always up for a game against Rangers, and it happened when they were at Ibrox, and it's happened now at Pataudry, and obviously, the big decider was they got the fans back, which was, always good, because it just seems to be that kind of thing. All the Rangers fans were kind of kicking off like, it should just go ahead, and carry on like it was. But football without fans is nothing. That's the whole point. And it's not just a Celtic saying, it's a football saying. You need the fans there, and if you guys can't play in front of your own fans, then you've got to take a wee look at yourselves. And if you can't handle that heat, just don't go in the kitchen. And yes, I think Aberdeen could have got the 3 points. The main thing I was happy about is that Morelos is going to be out of the Old Firm because he's off for his national team. It's great for him, in his country. It's very, very great for his country. You got to always go with your heart for your country, I think every Celtic fan will be solidly with that decision. It was a really good game. It was one of the few I actually got to watch. Just getting to see Chris Boyd's Coupon just going from to just straight away was great. And I was actually speaking about this a couple of guys in my work today when we were talking about the game, and we were talking about Scott Brown in particular. And it always seems to be the case that a lot of people don't like him that aren't in the Celtic fold, but you have to respect him because of what he's done, how he's done it, how he's keeping a consistent level. People wrote him off when he was with Celtic, maybe about 3 or 4 times in the space of his career there, saying, "Is he done? The legs have gone." And every time he just kept going, "No, I'm going to prove he's wrong. I'm going to prove he's wrong." And we were the same when he said that he was finally going to leave. We thought, well, fair dues, wish you all the best. We'll see how we go. He's went to Aberdeen, and he's just got a new lease of life. And he's just he's still in the wind up. He's living in so many Rangers players' heads rent free. I just think, good on you, buddy. Just keep proving it. Just don't do it when you come to us, eh?
It's mad to see, as you said, Scott Brown living rent free in their heads. It's crazy, Ross. And obviously the tweet going around at him doing this to Kent and trying to hug Tavernier. It's just Scott Brown, isn't it, Ross? It's what we know and love.
It was just everything, certainly on the wind-up side of things, everything he done in that match just epitomised Scott Brown, just what he's all about, and I laughed. It was funny, and it's like you say, if Scott Brown's in your team or he's on your side, and he's doing that, and the other team's reacting to it, then it's funny. You've got to laugh at it and you enjoy it, but he's doing a good job when everybody surrounded with Rangers cannot stand him, and that he loves that. That's what he lives for. And the very fact that he knows that they're wound up just fuels him more to do even more. So, and they'll never learn that he's done it to them for numerous amount of years now, and they still react and they still get caught up with it, no matter how many times.
Yeah,
and it was the same, Ross, like when I was talking to the guys at work. It was the same the way that I felt about Nacho Novo when he was playing with Rangers. No, so many times you wanted to strangle him, like, because you were just like, oh, you're just getting under my skin. But he knew how to play the game, like, on the park and off the park. Well, and it just shows you the sign of a player if they can do that and they get under your skin. And even now, like, I brought him up, he hasn't played for 10, 12 years. And the first thing he did was, ugh. That's what Brown does. Like, we could be, Rangers podcast could be talking about him in 20 years' time, and they would still have that reaction. And that just shows you there's some players that make their mark. Well, sadly, Novo was one of them that lived rent-free in my head for God knows how many years. And Brown's doing it to everybody else. So, long may it continue.
Well, look, Aberdeen done us a favour. It's up to Celtic to take advantage of this and keep the momentum going. But we'll move on quite swiftly to the signing news, Ross. And there seems to be more coming out now about this. Matt O'Reilly, £1.5 million from MK Dons. It was his release clause in his contract. I've seen people compare him to like Tom Rodzik. He's the same stature. Apparently he's good in tight spaces. I think he's got 7 goals, 5 assists from midfield this year. And again, I still don't want to add the midfield, but from what I can gather, just to bring it back to Turnbull again, for me, it might be harsh, but the signs for me don't look good. Do you know what I mean? It's Man O'Reilly now, Hatate, Rodzik, McGregor, Urigici. It's hard to fit him in.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, because I think.
And by the way, I'm not pissing on Turnbull. I'm just saying he signed 2 mid. He signed 2 midfield players. You know what I mean?
Aye, but I mean that doesn't mean Turnbull won't get in the team. Turnbull possesses a lot of good qualities, and he's been a really, really good player, one of our better players in the first half of the season. So, but I think you'll probably see that now and again we'll change the team and we'll rotate that midfield 3 when we can, and we'll still have enough quality in there. So I think there's still a place in the team and the squad for David Turnbull, and I would be loathed and I would be surprised if they wanted to offload him. I mean, don't get me wrong, if a crazy bid came in like region of 10 million, you would have to obviously seriously look at it. But David Turnbull, when he came to Celtic, he knew that it was going to be a fight week in, week out to be in the team. It just so happened the first season that the midfield was shite, so he was guaranteed to be in the team. But this is what it's all about at a big club like Celtic. And if he wants to play, he'll need to fight. And I think David Turnbull's well up for the fight. I think he's a quality player who can still bring a lot to the club.
Well, what you said about the Matt O'Reilly signing then? Have you seen any footage of him yet?
No, I haven't, to be honest with you. I've only heard something that he's a sort of all-action, sort of box-to-box midfielder. Again, he's 21. He seems to be, I think he's got something like 7 goals and 5 assists in League One. And I mean, Phil offered him a new contract. He didn't accept it, and then he went down to League One. But by all accounts, he's too good for that league, and everybody that watches that league has said, like, you can see that he belongs at a higher level. So he'll come in at Celtic. He's 21. He'll come in and have to prove himself, and if he's good enough, he'll play.
Yeah,
it's only an outlay $1.5 million. I don't know if it's a project at that, but it's another body. He's got like a good write up, and he seems, or what I've read, he could fit the Postecoglou style. I don't think Postecoglou would be signing him if he didn't. So just you don't know nothing about the guy, so you can't make predictions, but good luck to him. And if he's good enough, he'll play. And if he's good enough, then he's going to be a really good player, because we've already got really good players in the middle of that park. So
Yeah,
it just bodes well for the squad, the team, the club going forward. And I can't wait to just see all these guys starting to gel and just playing the Postecoglou way and getting to, like, because we're not quite there to where I don't think to where he wants to be, but we're getting ever closer gradually and gradually. I think,
yeah,
like, it's going to go all the way this season in the league for me. But another summer window, more like Postecoglou will have had a year then. I think the way it's going, I think you could probably see Celtic winning the league at a canter next year. Hopefully this season we get it over the line. It's going to go all the way. It's going to be nip and tuck. But if we win it this year, then I think you could see a period of domination again for a wee while.
yeah. No, I totally get what you mean. And go back to go back to the point you made about, in terms of Postecoglou getting a player to fit his style. I think that's a great point, Andrew. And that's where I'm coming from. What Ross is saying there, it seems like he's banning these midfield players to cover all sorts of positions, track back, go forward, box to box, plus have that kind of special talent, kind of producing a goal or an assist. And Turnbull, go back to him again. I'd like to get your opinion as well. He has all that going forward in terms of he can pick a pass, he can score a goal. But one thing that might lack is his work rate, determination, the tackle, that type of thing. That's where I'm coming from in regards to stocking up these midfielders. Where does he fit in the team?
Yeah, well, it's something that, again, we're signing another midfield player, and we can obviously the O'Reilly boy. We can do stats, we can do how many goals he scored, appearances, and that. But we all know from past signings you could have the best kind of career in the world, you come to Celtic and you just don't cut it. Well, it's a totally different environment. It's not just what's on the pitch, it's everything out with. It's the culture, it's the philosophy, it's buying into the team and buying into the way of life. Well, it really is a way of life. And sometimes people just don't get it and they just don't understand it. Well, and that's where they stumble and fall. Well, so it's going to be a big, I think it'll be an acid test for him, kind of similar to what Turnbull was. And Ross very eloquently put it that, Turnbull was in a team of shite, and that was how he became the. That's how.
Thanks.
Well, I loved it though, Ross. It was as subtle as a brick to the face. That just speaks my language. And you're right. It's not hard to be the best player on the park when everything looks like it's came out your arse 2 weeks ago. Well, it was unreal. But I think maybe that kind of worked against him a little, because I think he got a wee bit of the ideas above his station, thinking he was going to be part of this new revolution, this new team, and then new guys have came in. He thought, oh, maybe I'm still playing all right. I'll be fine. And then the injury comes along, and maybe the form isn't quite there. Right, I'm having you. I'm going for your spot. Whether he'll be up for the fight, I think you never rule out Steelman. Definitely not. You don't rule out anybody that comes from Motherwell. I learned that to my expense. But yeah, you got to take your opportunities. And he's going to have plenty of opportunities. We're fighting for the league. We've got the Scottish Cup, and we've still got the Conference League as well. And Postecoglou won't be taking that lightly. He'll want to make his mark in Europe in particular. That's where the results haven't worked so well for him. He'll want to build his reputation there. So he'll be looking to use every signing and every tool at his disposal. I just think right now we need to stop focusing on the midfield and look at the back line and try and have that same kind of that same kind of depth. It's starting to get to the stage where I'm like, they're going to put Muir Beaton in defence, and if that happens, I'm walking out. But I love Muir Beaton, I really do. But he's no a defender. Neil Lennon, why did you ever play him in there? For goodness sake! But
I think the saving grace is with the defence. We've got Carter, Vickers, Starfelt, Julian, and Welsh. So there needs to be a big injury crisis there for that to happen again. Fingers crossed it doesn't. But what we'll do, we'll move on to some like outgoings that kind of probably slip the radar. Connor Hazard, the goalkeeper, he's on loan to Helsinki now in Finland. It's Iceland or Finland. It's one or the other again. And then another thing that slipped on the radar, Ross, is Scott Bain's got a new contract to 2024. So it looks like he's going to stay on as a backup goalkeeper. For me, I don't know why, for me, didn't deserve a new contract. There's surely a free agent out there that could come in and fill that role as number 2. But what's your opinion on that one?
I was quite happy for him to get a new contract, to be honest with you. I don't think he's ever going to be Celtic's number 1. I think that's evident. We all know that. But I think he's enjoying his time at Celtic Park. He's probably being paid fairly well, probably better than what he would be as a number 1 at, say, I don't know, like a Dundee or something like that. But I think at the minute, I would put him ahead of Barkas. And Hazard's went away out. The other guy, I can't say his name. I'm not even going to attempt to say it. Like the young goalie,
Olawame or something? Olawame.
Aye. I'll let you fuck it up. But
I'm the guest. I'll try and fuck it up. It's okay.
But I was quite happy to see him getting. He's sort of becoming that Zalushka type, where he's quite happy to be there and just come in for the odd game. I think Scott Bain does possess some qualities. He's not an outstanding keeper, but I think to come in the odd game here and there, if just to cover for Hart, like say, I think he'll probably play against Alloa. I think he's good enough to come in and do a job for us. He was found wanting at times last season because he was in the team a lot more than what he obviously is this season. He wasn't a number 1, he wasn't a number 2, but he was getting a run of games, then he was out the team, then he was back in the team. But I think when he was playing a number of games in a row, then the mistakes started to creep in. You could see there was more mistakes. But if he's in for the odd game here and there, and he's, by the way, probably learning off of Hart as he goes along, I think he's all right. I don't know if he'll be definitely our number 2 going forward, but certainly for the remainder of this season, I think he's all right as a number 2, and I'm quite happy for him to get a new contract. He's came in and done his very, very best for Celtic at every time he's been asked. So he's well worth it for me.
I mean, I think as well, I know I said he isn't good enough, and I still maintain that. I think Celtic should improve the goalkeeping department. That's one area that definitely does need improved, because from Joe Hart, it's a big drop-off down to the second choice. But I think it's hard. You can't forget, Andrew, that he was first choice for a period under Brendan Rodgers in one of the treble-winning seasons, because he played the ball from his feet, and he was very good at that. He was a technical goalkeeper. But I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say this could be the pathway for the young English goalkeeper, Owalami, I'm going to go with. I'm probably butchering the name, but I'm just going to go with it. That learn off Joe Hart and then eventually become Celtic's number 1 in future years. Can you see that kind of paying off that way?
Well, first of all, Ross, you read my mind when you mentioned Zalauskas, because I was going to say he is this generation's Zalauskas. It just had so many parallels where he's reliable if you need him, but for like a consistency, maybe not. But I think last season, the goalkeeping situation in particular was one of the biggest clusterfucks that there could have ever been. Because it was like Barkas, Bain, Hazard, Barkas, Bain, Barkas. It was like playing goalie top trumps. Sometimes you're like, what hand are we getting dealt with next? And that affects your whole team. I need a solid goalie to know who's going to be working with the back 4 or back 5, depending on what system they were playing at the time. And they need that consistency of who's going to be the guys behind you. Can you rely on them? And if you don't know who's at your back, what chance have you got? Yeah. And you got it right in the head. He did have a good run. Concern, he was meant to be going to Hibs, and then Neil Lennon punted him to us. Not expecting him to get any game time. And he got called up to the Scotland squad as a result of it. I think it just depended on the right manager there. Lennon didn't want him the first time, so when Lennon came back, I just had a feeling something bad was going to happen to Bain, and I think it's rocked him as a result. Just too much bad blood there. And he's getting decent chances with Postecoglou. He's getting some chances to come on. Like you said, Ross, yes, he's been found wanting a couple of times, but I don't think we should just throw him out. I think learning under Joe Hart is going to be a massive thing for him. Well, I think what the young goalie, as you called him, I'm not even going to attempt to butcher that name. But I think he'll be looking at both of them and getting the good and the bad from them, going, right, this is what I need to do, and this is how I could screw it up if I don't play my cards right. So I think still having him around was all right. I just feel really sorry for Barkas. Like he's had the worst luck, and I really hope that he gets a second chance somewhere soon and revitalizes his career. Like the kind of way Shane Duffy was just it was a disaster for him. But he's went back to Brighton and he's doing well. And anybody that survived last season can survive anything. I wish them all the best. And I really do hope that Barkas gets that chance as well, because you just feel sorry for him, because it wasn't like he was coming out of the papers slating Celtic. Like, I heard John Guidetti was slating Celtic about his time there, and I was like, ugh, just go away. Yeah. What have you done? What have you done? The words are fucking all.
I think as well, in terms of, like you say, Barkas, I feel sorry for Barkas. I still think there could be a keeper there, but I think his time's done, unfortunately. I stayed on that train as long as I could. Being he's there until 2024, we know that's confirmed. But look, another thing to look forward to. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, see the thing as well, right? Obviously, Bain was in and out the team last season, but the defence was horrendous. Doesn't help, right? And you could say that for Barkas as well. But right now, I think that if he came into the Celtic team currently, Celtic keep a lot of the ball. They have a lot of the ball. They don't concede as many chances. They don't concede as many shots at their goal. So again, against, no disrespect, your Ross Counties, your Dundees, your St Mirrens, you're not going to concede a lot of shots and goal. So he can come in and still do all right in place of Hart, and he'll not be as, let's say, exposed as he was last season.
Yeah. And in fairness, Ross, like when Julian got took out by that St Mirren goalpost, I was so expecting Neil Lennon to sign the goalpost for a short-term loan to the end of the season. And at some points, it would have been better.
Aye, I know, it would have.
But one thing that is certain, back in cup action, Alloa, Sunday, the Premier Sports Cup, as it's now called, live in Premier Sports, kick off at 5:30. Ross, going to give you 2 facts about Alloa here. Yeah, no facts. We're all in the game here today, boys.
Hey.
So, Jock Hepburn remains Alloa's most capped player with 1 cap he received for Scotland against Wales in 1891. Fantastic. And the number 2 fact is the record attendance at the recreational park is listed at 13,000 for a Scottish Cup replay against Dunfermline in February 1939. But a lot's changed since then, Ross. They've now got a plastic pitch. The stadium's called the In Dudreal Stadium. I again butcher that name. I think
it's Recreation Park. Always will be.
Just keep it Recreation Park. Apparently the 3G is the worst that there ever was in terms of a pitch surface. Going there, cup game, could be an upset on the cards. Let's hope not. But how are you feeling getting into it?
You've got to be confident. It's a lower. The team, what are they saying? First, second division? Can't mind. But they're certainly not as good a team as Celtic. Come on, more facts, Stephen.
I'm trying to find it now. They're in Scottish League One, and their manager is Barry Ferguson.
Aye, I know that. But you've got to be confident going into a game like that. Again, I say it all the time. Celtic domestically, you've got to be confident going into every single game. You're not going to win every single game, but you expect to win each game that you face, each team that you face domestically. So again, it's another one of them that you expect to win, but again, there's always that danger of a banana skin. It's a cup game, it's a one-off. They'll be right up for it. It's a terrible pitch. So there's many variables, but on paper, you expect Celtic to win the game.
Yep, totally agree. Andrew, what about yourself? I mean, as Ross rightly said, there's different varieties in terms of the way a match could go. Plastic pitch, ex-Rangers captain, legend, Barry Ferguson as manager, so they'll be right up for it. Probably a sellout crowd as well. What are you expecting? Just a hard Scottish Cup game, or League Cup game, sorry?
I'm expecting a sellout crowd of 68 people.
That's so bad, man.
No disrespect to Alloa in the slightest, but a lot to Barry Ferguson, obviously, because he was a Rangers man. But I think it could be a lot trickier than we think. What it is, what you said, Steve, it's potential banana skin. What if there's one thing that Barry Ferguson's good at, it's like riling up anybody that's going to play against Celtic. What he'll have had the war stories going probably since he first set foot in the door about what all the stuff he went through with against Celtic. So he'll be doubling down on that and really driving it home to their players that this is a chance to stick it to them, make a wee bit of history. There's a new manager, and all that stuff. But Celtic have had a cup win very recently, and they'll have that in the back of their minds, and they'll think we want more. We want to keep proving people wrong. So I am optimistic about it. I'm not going to say quietly because I've kind of, I've literally by the way, sorry, I've got something totally wrong. Celtic won the Premier Sports Cup. It's the Scottish Cup tie.
Yeah, I know. I corrected you already, but you weren't listening.
I was just like, I'm the guest, don't say it.
But go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
No, not at all. I'm optimistic about it. I just don't want anybody to get big-headed. As I, obviously I've stuck my own boot in and saying, there was going to be 68 people there. No, I'm confident, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. The last time I tried to predict something on here, I got it majorly wrong. So yeah.
That's an absolute shambles by me there, Ross. I can't believe I got that wrong. But people who are in the comments, don't be going too hard on me now. Come on, you can get them mixed up.
Yeah.
But
it's an easy mistake.
Easy mistake.
That's why you've got me in the show. I'm the reason that you'll get slated. I take that.
No.
We gingers deflect all the hate and we take it in. We're like, we are literally like a solar panel of hate. So you'll Please don't worry.
There's an analogy if ever I heard one.
Right, Ross. Score, lineup prediction, bang it out.
Lineup prediction, I think it'll be Bain in goals. I think it'll be Ralston at right back, Carter Vickers and probably Welsh, and Liam Scales on the left. A midfield three, Beaton, possibly Gucci, and McGregor in the sort of the 10 role, a bit further forward than he's been playing recently. And then probably Johnston, Abada on the right, and Big Giacomakis through the middle.
Score?
Let's go 3-0 Celtic.
Perfect. Comfy 3-0. What about yourself, Andrew? Score, lineup prediction.
Right. Who's playing for our Lowland League team again? It was low hanging fruit. I couldn't resist. Sorry. I think Ross's prediction is actually pretty solid. In all honesty, but I think if we do get the deal over the line for this MK Dons player, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws him into the mix. Maybe even getting him on as like a sub in the second half. To try and get his fitness up. I really couldn't see much wrong with what Ross was saying. That's the only change that I would make. My prediction, I'm going to go with 3-1. I think with Barry Ferguson being their manager and riling them up, I could see Alloa maybe getting like a shock first goal before Celtic wake up and go right, bang, bang, bang.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I'll go Scott Bain, Ralston, Vickers, Welsh, Scales. I'll go Urigici to start, centre defensive mid, and I'll go Matt O'Reilly and Colin McGregor. And then Abada on the right, Johnson on the left, and Giacomakis for the middle. And I'll go 2-0 to Celtic. So well.
Alright.
But I love how even you were like, I'm gonna go Origide, and you coughed as if like, bullshit.
But you aren't getting away that easy. Obviously, that brings us to the end of the podcast. But what I'm doing is bringing back the quiz for you to have a proper go at it here.
Oh man, I'm going to get exposed. Oh no! Well, I won't be allowed back.
You will. Aye, you will.
Cool,
Right.
you
See how
will.
your comments go, man.
So it's 5 questions. First to 3. Blah blah blah. You all know the score.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Never.
As I'll
but
ever
let's
be.
do this.
Question 1. Believed to have pioneered the idea of the huddle. This man sadly
Tony
disappointed
Mowbray.
both as a 1-0. Question 2. The only dentist to ever have won a European Cup medal.
Jim Craig.
2-0.
I'm getting slaughtered here, guys.
We've done these questions.
Shut up! I'm just...
I'm a
I was
regular
abs-
listener. I should have known that.
I was
That
absolutely
every
mortal
time
that
it's
night,
on.
and I can still remember the answers.
Who famously held a press conference at a pub?
Kenny Douglas.
3-0.
That
You
wasn't
should have known
fair,
that,
man.
Andrew. Come on. Did you not watch the Chase episode? Did you watch it?
I did know it, but I'm just blaming slow internet connection. But nah,
Ah.
that would be a D move. I brain farted. I totally brain farted.
Oh no, that wasn't fair. That was shite, man.
But I
No,
didn't really
no,
prepare as much as I could.
It's because
Nah.
I'm shite. What?
Well,
but-
I mean, don't put words in my mouth.
No,
But-
fair play to you, Ross. What I'm trying to teach my kids, you've got to be gracious in defeat. What? Fair play, you bastard.
And gracious when you win as well.
Mhm.
But look, guys, I mean, looking ahead to Celtic's trip to Tynecastle, I want to bring us back. Bit of sad news come out of the Hearts community today about a young fella, age 13, called Devon, who sadly lost his life not so recently there. And they're trying to organise a 13 minutes applause. And I think every Celtic fan in the Celtic community who's attended Tynecastle should get involved with that. It's just to remember a young kid. And I think it's also right to say, if you need to speak. It's okay not to be okay. Speak up. And I think that's what everyone can echo in the football community. His family, his friends, our thoughts are with you right now at this hard, difficult time. And again, I'll echo it. Any Celtic fan who's attending Tynecastle next week on the Wednesday evening, join in the 13th minute of applause for the young man, Devon. Sadly lost his life at age 13. And until we speak again, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.